Hello friends, it's John Lone King and welcome to my next episode of From Profits to Properties, where I help you with business tactics that help you to build your profits beyond your wildest expectations. And then I teach you how to take those profits and turn them into long-term wealth by investing into real estate. Whether it be a new primary residence, a luxury vacation home, or you just want to invest in property so that you can get passive rental income down the road. You are in the right place, so buckle up and let's get started. So if you didn't listen to last week, I talked about the 3 Ps, but I only went to 2 of them. So the 3 Ps come from The Profit, the TV show The Profit by Marcus Lemonis, and he talked about people, product, and process. And last week I talked about people and I talked about product. Today I want to focus on process. I suck at process by nature. Now it's funny because you ask a lot of people like, oh my gosh, John, you are great at process. You have all of these systems in place. You have all of these steps that you have. You're really tech savvy. That's all true. But it's because I've built that stuff around me because I'm a wing it kind of guy. Yeah, I'm a wing it kind of guy. Like a friend of mine who I've known for years, and he's a real estate agent. He's done a lot of things in the past, and he's very much a process person. He wants everything, a place for everything and everything in its place. And he has a roadmap for how everything is going to work. And it can't operate unless it falls under that process. Well, I don't operate that way. I've built my business in such a way that I put structure around it. I've laughed for years that people say, oh my gosh, John, you follow your calendar to a T. No, I have a great calendar process. So I'm teaching about process today. I have a great calendar process. It's color-coded. I've got an amazing team that I've taught the process to. I stole it from somebody else. I am not a fan of original ideas. I think plagiarism is amazing. I think that teachers in school should teach kids how to plagiarize. I'm only partially kidding. Here's the deal. Like, you teach the kids in school, you have to come up with all these original ideas. And I know why, because you're trying to teach them how to think, how to process information. I'm just joking when I say it that way. But the truth is, when you're an adult, you don't get extra points. You don't get extra credit. You don't get an A versus a B if it was an original idea. Steal somebody else's idea and implement it. Now, if you're talking about the product you're selling, that's where having something that is unique in the marketplace is important, but it still doesn't require it to be an original idea. But when it comes to a process, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. I actually heard a great story a couple weeks ago about WD-40 because I'm talking about plagiarism and stealing. WD-40 actually is one of the very few mass-produced products that never had a patent. Now, why would they not put a patent? They wouldn't want anybody to steal their formula or recreate what they built. So why wouldn't they create a patent? Because if you file a patent, you have to give the exact instructions on what you did because you're patenting exactly the formula, okay? And then the patent runs out after a certain amount of time. And now everybody has your secret formula. WD-40 thought ahead. The company, the person thought ahead and said, hey, I'm not going to patent this because I don't want to tell anybody what's in my secret formula. And many, many people have tried to duplicate WD-40 and nobody has done it. Nobody. And so that's an example of, hey, yes, you should steal somebody else's process, but if you have a process that you believe is your differentiator, then don't make it public. Make sure you protect it at all costs. The secret formula to Coca-Cola locked up in the vault. Okay, the KFC formula for the original recipe crust, whatever it is, the skin and the way they make it, that's process of how they build it, how they make it, how they cook it. That is their secret sauce. See what I did there? Secret sauce. So you have to be open to ideas of building a process within your business. And if you're already process wired, you can skip this episode because I'm really talking to the 92% of the rest of us who aren't. Either we see the value in it but have a hard time following it, or we just plain say, you know what, winging it is better. And I'm here to tell you, winging it is not better. Winging it causes you to miss too many things in your business. Too many opportunities get missed. Too many chances to deliver beyond the expectations of your client are lost because you did not follow a process. One of my favorite processes is outlined in the book, The Raving Fans. And it's a 3-step process to create raving fans. But you can't skip any of these steps. You have to follow the process. If you haven't read the book Raving Fans, it's a short read. It's a great book, but I'll tell you the whole story right now, which is the 3 steps of building raving fans. Know what I want. Okay, so you gotta know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you're never going to create raving fans because you're going to not deliver at a high level because you're not actually achieving your goals. You cannot make somebody else happy if it's making you unhappy. So know what I want. Know what you want is step 1. Step 2, know what your customer wants. Kind of simple, but it's the truth. Sometimes we forget. Sometimes we know what we want. Now, I'm not saying what we want in our product. What do we want as our outcome? Why are we in business? Why are we doing this? What do we want long term? Do we want to retire? Do we want to become super wealthy? Do we want to grow the business and sell it? Do we just want to get by because we're enjoying what we're doing and we can do it from our home with limited amount of time? I don't know. There's no wrong answer, but know what you want. Then know what your client wants. And don't confuse what you want with what they want, because it isn't likely the same thing. Even if there are similarities, even if you think I am my perfect demographic of a client, you could be wrong. Do not make that assumption. So step 1, know what you want. Step 2, know what they want. Step 3, deliver what they want plus 1, not plus 2, not plus 5, not plus 10, plus 1 is all you have to deliver, and you will have raving fans. And here's the coolest thing about that process. It doesn't have to be the same for every person. I had a really good friend who was a real estate agent, a different realtor, and he was very focused on the client experience, but focused on it from the wrong perspective. He said, I need to deliver to, not wrong, different perspective. I need to deliver what I would expect from a realtor plus 1. And he really killed himself to deliver that level of service. Most of his clients didn't need that level of service. Most of his clients didn't care for that level of service. It was about what they wanted or what they expected and delivering that plus 1. Think about the last time you flew on an airplane. I can guarantee you that most of you were discriminated against during that airplane flight. And no, I'm not talking about discrimination on negative biases such as race or sex or whatever, all the different reasons why I should have said gender, but whatever, you get it. So I'm not talking about being discriminated against for those reasons. You were discriminated against based on the price you paid for the ticket, based on the airline that you chose to fly on. If you were in first class, you got a different process than someone who is in business class. If you're in business class, you got a different process than someone that was sitting in the regular, what they used to call it coach. They don't call it coach anymore. What do they call it? Anyway, you would get a different process. Now that is a form of discrimination, treating people different based upon some criteria. Now in this case, the criteria is how much money did they spend? How much money did you spend on your airline ticket? You had the right to get the higher level of service that comes with first class, but you had to pay for it. You had to be willing to pay for that. And so my question is, what classes do you have in your business that you can deliver to your clients? And you can offer them, hey, I have a process in my business. And that process is such that I can accommodate people from A to Z. Now, does Southwest Airlines accommodate everybody? No, they don't even have a first class airline. They don't have a first class section. Does United accommodate everybody? No, because they don't have the same offerings that maybe a JetBlue or a Southwest might have, although they're all kind of merging together now. But the fact of the matter is, you can't serve everybody, but you can serve a different group. Southwest does it really well. Although right now we're in July of 2025, and they're starting to assign seats. My wife was telling me that today. I remember reading it in an article a few months ago, but they're starting to assign seats. Well, it's a whole different process, but let's use the old model of Southwest, which was the cattle call. You lined up. Okay. Well, guess what? There are still 3 tiers within Southwest's prior model. You've got the, hey, I bought a ticket and now I got to go online 24 hours in advance and push that button right away so that I can get my place in line. That is the least expensive option. Or you can pay more. You can pay more to have early bird, which means instead of you being on there 24 hours ahead of time, 72 hours ahead of time, the system automatically assigns you a spot in line based on when you bought your early bird ticket. But if you still want to be the first one on the plane, you can pay extra, even more than early bird, to be priority boarding A1 through 15. So they have 15 spots for people. Now, once those are sold, you're out. Never seen it full. Never seen all 15 of those sold out. But they get to collect extra money. Now, they also use their rewards program. And if you're in the rewards program, you can have priority seating without paying extra for it. This is all about having a process that says, hey, all people are created equal, but not all clients have to be treated the same. That doesn't mean you negatively impact that person. It doesn't mean that you have a wrongful type of discrimination or bias against them, but it means that, hey, it's appropriate to give your client choices of packages and say, I have a process within my business that you can choose this level, or this level. There's a whole world of that on the internet right now called freemium pricing, where you've got, hey, you can have this service for free. ChatGPT is a great example. You can have ChatGPT for free. Oh, but you get the least level of services, you get the least amount of usage, but you can use all these tools for free. Well, most of them, you can't have all the tools, but you can have a lot of the tools for free. And then they said, well, you can, if you want, you can pay $20 a month, and now you'll get access to everything. And then about 6 months, a year ago, they said, oh, well, maybe not everything. Maybe we want to have another tier. And so now they added the $200 a month tier and said, well, for $200 a month, you get access to everything. Well, yeah, now they rolled out a new product last week, 2 weeks ago, called Agent Mode. And nobody gets unlimited use of that one. So I don't know what free is or unlimited is anymore. But the truth is, I'm willing to pay for it if the service is worth it to me. And they're giving me a choice. I would not like it if they didn't give me that option. If they chose for me and said, you don't have the option of paying $20 a month, everybody gets the same thing. That doesn't serve my business needs, and therefore I would take my business somewhere else. So think about your business, think about your clients, think about clients you may not be getting because your process is just a one-size-fits-all process. You need to think about, can I serve other clients? Can I get into a different segment of my market and take better care of them while charging them more and making more profit at the same time because they're happy to pay that extra money because of the services that I'm providing to them? Somebody who flies in first class is happy to pay the extra money. They can afford it and it's worth it to them. But guess what? If they want something better, they can fly private. They can rent space on a private jet. They could buy a private jet. Like, there's lots of choices here, people. We're not all going to get the same experience when we're flying from point A to point B. And you have to recognize, where does your business fit into that? And are you only having one process that all your clients go through? And if so, could you separate that? Could you differentiate? Could you discriminate appropriately based upon the price that they are paying so that you can be way more profitable? I don't know about you, but the price that you pay for a first class ticket compared to a business class or a regular class ticket does not cover the little bit extra that they spent for the better meal or the champagne that they provided or the free drinks. They are making way more profit on you, and you're willing to pay that. The people who are going first class are willing to pay that, and they're not getting their money's worth based upon the extra food or drink. They're getting their money's worth because they value the extra level of service, and they're willing to pay for it. And the airline is making more in profit. So you need to make sure that you're not missing out on those opportunities as well. All right, hang around for the second half of my episode where I'm going to talk about the process in buying a home and how that fits into this as well. So hang tight. I'll be right back with you. Hello, friends. Just wanted to interrupt our podcast really quickly to talk to you about owning properties in an LLC. It is a phenomenal strategy to protect your assets against any type of a claim that comes from a property that you own. The problem is conventional financing doesn't allow it. So most people who own investment properties have bought them either in their personal name or in a family trust, which exposes you and your family to liability and lawsuits because you're the owner of the investment property. And if something happens there, they can come after you. You need to talk to your attorney about the pros and cons of using an LLC. You need to talk to your tax guy about the pros and cons of using an LLC. But you for sure need to know about the option that I have available that will allow you to purchase investment properties in an LLC instead of being in your personal name, because it is a game changer in protecting you and your family's financial future. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the second half of my podcast. Hopefully you've gotten a lot out of the first part. We're going to dive into the real estate side of things and really dive into what the process is that you need to think about when you're investing in real estate. So what I want you to think about today is I want to think about when you're buying investment properties specifically, you really want to think about the process of how you're going to go about acquiring those properties. And you got to start with the end in mind. How much money do you have that you want to invest in real estate? And what is your goal? Is your goal appreciation or is your goal cash flow? Now, I've talked about this in previous episodes. I'm not going to go very deep into that part, but you have to recognize there is a big difference between whether you are chasing appreciation or chasing cash flow. And that depends on where you're going to buy. That depends on how big you're going to put as a down payment. But when I focus on process, I really want to talk about the process of going about looking for a home. The process of going about determining if this home is the right home to suit your situation. Now, you can go really, really deep and really, really analytical. And I will tell you, if you're interested in that, you've got to make sure you've got a great lender and a great realtor that understands how to run those numbers. I'll also tell you, you can use AI tools now that you could not have ever imagined before that can help you to run those numbers. As a matter of fact, I did a video a week or two ago that was about a new process of searching for homes using what's called agent mode in ChatGPT. Now, I'm not going to talk all about that today, but I'm going to simply tell you that it's a game changer in how you can go about searching for properties and running numbers and doing a pro forma on properties. And so you have to think about the process in regards to what tools are you going to use and are they really going to matter to you? Because some people say, oh my gosh, Sean, I want to know my cap rate and I want to know this and I want to know that. And it's like, okay, why? I don't know because I was told to. Do you understand how the numbers apply to you? No, but I was told it should be between this and this. Okay, well, it's okay to have a rule of thumb. It's even okay to have a rule of thumb that you don't thoroughly understand, but you got to make sure you have a team around you that helps you know which rules matter and which ones don't. And so that's part of people, but it's about having your process. Deciding, hey, how am I going to go about shopping for a home? Am I a thinker, a feeler, or a knower? Talked about this in an episode back 4 or 5 months ago. And there's a whole way of how we process information, and you have to recognize who you are. And you have to sometimes recognize what it takes for you to make a decision. What is your decision-making process? If you're a thinker, you're going to want more information and more information and more information. You're never going to actually take action. If you're that person, you're going to recognize it as I say it. You're going to continue to digest information and then worry and wonder, maybe I'm missing something. Or worse yet, maybe there's a better deal around the corner. I'll wait for that. And guess what? You wait forever and nothing ever happens. And you end up never taking advantage of opportunities. Opportunities to make money come with risk. You have to make a calculated risk. And so if you are a thinker and your process is I'm going to gather as much information as I can and keep gathering, you got to have a trigger in your process. You got to point. Maybe it's a person who you're going to run it by after a certain amount of time and say, help me make this decision. Maybe you have to understand your thinking and understand what your secondary modality is. Your secondary modality is really how you confirm the decision that you're making. And so you have to decide, how am I making my decisions? And that isn't necessarily how I process information. And so have your process of how you go about searching for homes. Have your process about how you decide whether this one is worth it or not. Have your process, especially when you're dealing with complicated transactions like a 1031 exchange. Because with the 1031 exchange, if you don't get the process right, you end up paying a bunch of money in taxes on the properties that you sold. You end up in a position where it costs you significantly more money than it should have because you didn't follow the right process. So it is critical as you are thinking about investing in real estate, and this specifically I'm talking about investment properties, but the truth is it's the same thing when buying a primary home or a vacation home. You have to think about, what is my decision-making process? What is the process I go through to figure out what properties I want to buy, what partners I want to use in the transaction, how much money I want to use as a down payment? Am I flipping a coin? Maybe. That's okay. Am I going with a thorough analysis? Maybe. Am I going with my gut? Maybe. But know what, who, and how you make your decisions. To thine own self be true. Know yourself, know your process, and try and follow that process. Try and make sure that you know what you need to do in order for you to accomplish your goal and to be able to achieve everything that you're trying to achieve in your business and in buying real estate as well. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with anybody you know. I'm looking to grow more people listening and following. And if you need any help with real estate, I'd be happy to help you out from the lending side. So please reach out, and I'd love to take great care of you. Have an absolutely wonderful day, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.